Perfect. I made sure as I shared this out that I mentioned I'm not in a bar, so I don't know how believable that will be to everybody that's starting to tune in.
We're not going to really believe you anyway.
Right. There's no sense in doing that. Well, we're going to go ahead and get started. So for those of you that are starting to hop on here with us, please let us know that you've joined us. You can do so by liking this video as it's live. You can also do so by commenting so I can give you that shout out and also see that you're actually tuned in with me. I already see a couple of you that are hopping on here with us, so we're just going to go ahead and get started. Today is Monday, and the start of the week means that I get us started with our mayor, Mayor Herb Atchison. And before we introduce our topic and our mayor gets a chance to visit with us, you know I like to go over some basic housekeeping. So at the bottom of this video, if you're watching on a phone, if you're watching on a computer, you still have the chat function. That's available for you at any point in time during this broadcast if you have any comments. So if it's a compliment, if it's just a hello, any type of message, you can type that in there. If it is a question on any of the content that the mayor shares with us, or just a question in generality related to COVID, our city, and kind of community happenings, we want to hear from you. The way that we can do that is by seeing your question that's typed into the chat box. We'll then pull it up so that everybody gets a chance to see it and then answer it for you as well. I always tell you that if you're tuning in and you find this information to be relevant, which I know it's relevant, so you should already be doing this, hit the share button off of your screen so that your network can know more about what's going on. The more informed that we all are together, the more that we move together forward. So make sure that you share this message out, that you like this page if you haven't already done so. And if you have already liked this page, that you hit the follow button. I know it's a lot of rules, but it works. If you hit the like, then you like the page and see some of the messaging. If you hit the follow button, then it actually alerts you whenever we do go live or whenever we post content. Any of these videos that we've had since March, and it's been almost, gosh, I want to say it's been 5 months, almost 6 months now that we've had a wealth of these videos with featuring experts, elected officials, various businesses and nonprofit groups, and of course our mayor. Those are available to you at your fingertips at the video section of this Facebook page. It's also available on our YouTube channel, Westminster Chamber of Commerce, and engage with us on all of our social media, Instagram, Twitter, at Westy Chamber, where we like to post additional information that's a little bit different than what you see here on Facebook and our YouTube page. So, as many of you are already aware, I am Juliette Abdel, President and CEO of the Westminster Chamber of Commerce. And as I shared this out, I tried to tell you guys that I'm not at a bar. Hopefully you believe that I decided to spontaneously go down and see some family. And I've got a terrific friend that's having me use their event venue space. So super stoked to be here. But I will turn this now over to our mayor, Mayor Herb Atchison, to begin sharing with us some news and updates. And again, we like this to be engaging. So please be sure that you comment, engage with us. And Parker and Melissa, thank you for tuning in with us.
Well, good morning, Juliette. And I bet you won't turn that camera around to show us what the bar really looks like. All right, let's get started with some updates on COVID. And what I'm going to read you is a statement that came from the Jefferson County Health Department. This came at the end of last week, so this is a couple of days old. From the health department, we have successfully completed the 2-week mitigation period placed on us by the state health department, during which we needed to get our 2-week new case total back below 580. As of today, that number is 370. I believe the success is due to the mandatory mask orders and the residents of Jefferson County working to comply with the guidelines so that we could not lose our variances permanently. We are cautiously beginning to study what we will need to do to get into the protect our neighbors stage of the response, but it will be a couple of weeks. I believe before we can seriously consider applying for that, our 2-week totals will need to be at least below 290. Reminder that as of the end of last week, we were still at 370. Moving over to Tri-County. Tri-County reported on Thursday that our number is currently at 126 per 100,000, and the state indicates that Adams County is still regarded as very high. For the county to get to protect our neighbors, we have to be at a 50 per 100,000. So that's still double what the state will need for us to get to the next stage. So again, wearing masks, washing your hands, being protective of those around you and yourselves is very important. Reminder that we do have the daily test site open at Mayoral from 8 to 4, 5 days a week. And we want to make sure that people still take the opportunity to go there. For those who do not have insurance or that are homeless patrons, we still have the MAC facility that's open every Thursday from 8 to 4. And one of the other things that starts today is a new piece for businesses and nonprofits that's starting today. Colorado businesses and nonprofits with fewer than 25 full-time employees that have been hurt by COVID-19 can apply for up to $35,000 in grants and loans through the new Energized Colorado Gap Fund. Now, Juliet has that link for that Gap Fund application. She's going to share that with you, which you can see right now. So that's available starting today. The other thing we want to talk about is something that not COVID related, but many of you may have seen the advertisement and the news this past weekend regarding a young lady by the name of Deborah Johnson. And Deborah is the new CEO for the Regional Transportation District. They're in final negotiations with her contract. If that's all successful, which I fully expect it will be, that she should be joining the organization formally probably in mid-November. What happens at this point is once they finish negotiation of the contract, then she needs to give her current employer probably about 30 days notice. I've had a chance to talk to the young lady. I'm very impressed with her professional and experience. I think that she will be a breath of fresh air into RTD and fully understands the idea that she has to get into the bones of the network and to the system itself to find out what's really there. I expect her to be a part of the upcoming negotiations with the collective bargaining agreement for RTD and the drivers. So the sooner that they're able to get the contract finalized and she can get her notice and get out here, the sooner that will start to happen. Some new things going on. We had a chance this past week, we being the city, to welcome a new business. And let me find it here for us real quick. It's Green Acres Granite. This is a new business that just recently, about 3 weeks ago, opened their doors. They're up at roughly 116th and Pecos, just down from the county service center. And they are both wholesale and fabrication for granite for countertops, kitchens. They have another sales site in Centennial, but their main fabrication and distribution center is in Colorado Springs, but they are also hiring. So they have a number of job opportunities that they're looking to fill. Gary, the owner of the company, was very enthusiastic about being here in Westminster and that he hopes to be able to build his business. As Juliet had given you the opportunity for people who are looking for jobs to go to the service center for their website last week, we've also referred Gary over there, and to actually, since he's just across the parking lot, he can just walk over and talk to him. Some other new businesses coming to town. And many of you remember the old Jack and Grill restaurant. If you've been down Sheridan recently, you've noticed it's under renovation. The company coming in there is a restaurant chain called Hook and Reel. They are a Cajun seafood restaurant. We do not have a projected opening date from the group. We've reached out to them, but that information hasn't come back yet. You'll also notice that the old Ruby Tuesday has started renovation there. That's actually going to become a series of suites for stylists. So they will be basically leasing space inside the building for that. Seems to be a new trend where we see more and more stylists coming in renting space other than opening up a place where they're the only ones there. So those are some new businesses that we've seen. We are continue to see what appears to be a proactive economy with a lot of our retailers that are still trying to get reopened. The restaurants that I've had a chance to talk to over the past week, their carry out is still probably some of their main staples. But as both health departments have said, we still need to do a lot of work to be able to allow our restaurants and others to get to that next level of business, protect our neighbors, which would potentially, with approval of the local health department, not having to go to the state, would allow us to be able to expand occupancy in the restaurants that meet the criteria. All of those things are still dependent upon us as residents and people here in business and those who visit our city to look at what we're doing to make sure we're protecting it. The mask wearing across the United States, I believe, is still helping us to drive down the number of infections. I was watching some of the reports this morning out of Tuscaloosa, Alabama, where the home of the Roll Tide, for some of you who know them. But the University of Alabama has been seeing huge numbers in that community of infections, not just a few people, but hundreds that have happened since the school came back. So we are seeing that. We saw an episode here in Westie Public Schools about a week ago where a teacher became infected, but that one was controlled. And here's the big part of the Westie Public School had a plan. Their plan anticipated this could happen, and it happened. But they are following the plan so that only those children and the adults involved in it in that cohort are the only ones who had to be quarantined. And the rest of the school is operating as normal. Most of the kids in Jefferson County go back today, depending upon the school, whether they're going to go back virtually or in person or in a hybrid model. So this week, be careful if you're out driving around, because some COVID predictions are that some are in school, some are not. So school district speed zones, they are in effect in most of the areas. So even if the school is only partially occupied, the 20-mile-per-hour speed zones around the schools are back in effect. So remember to slow down. Remember to watch for the kids that we're typically not used to having out going around, walking to or biking to school. So let's be careful of the children we have out. Juliet, unfortunately, not a lot of activity this week. It was kind of slow, but it's nice to see new businesses coming to town. We're still seeing progress being made at the new downtown. Construction continues. Every day that we get a work day finished, we're one day closer to new businesses opening there as well. So we'll take any questions that the group might have and see what else we can talk about and see if we really can check out that location where you're at. So the artwork looks really
I know, I need to figure out how I can switch over the camera. We've got several people that hopped on here with us. We do have our Mayor Herb Atchison, sharing updates from his lens on things related to COVID, happenings in our community. And I've typed most of that into the comment section of this broadcast. So if you had not caught that or just wanted to skim over that content, it's in there. But be sure to type us in any questions. We like to engage with you. I see Eva. I also see Johnny Woodley. I see Dave Carpenter, Dan. I see several of you guys. So good morning. Do not hesitate to type in some things. We did have more so comments. This was following what you were sharing, Mayor, about the MAC being available for anyone that does not have insurance to get those testing. We also saw the partnership that we have with Highland Hills District and Waterworld, and that's available to anybody, even if they do have insurance, but it's an opportunity to get testing. He also, I guess Dave Carpenter has seen another sign for some of the urgent care facilities off of Church Trans that are also testing. I know there's a variety of places that people can definitely go. Definitely be sure to share some of those couple that we did at the very start for people that do not have the insurance or ability to necessarily access those testing sites.
Yeah.
So Johnny commented, and I think this was a fear that was driven from your recent announcement over the Jack and Grill location, which I used to love Jack and Grill. You know, it closed several months after I came on, and it was just so convenient. It was right up the road from City Hall and the Chamber, and it just was a nice venue. So it's great to see that it will be repurposed for something that's more occasion. Johnny's comment was, I hope Joe's Crab Shack doesn't leave. That's his go-to in Westminster. I've not heard of them going anywhere. Have you had any of that communication?
The only thing I'd heard, and this is probably back around the first part of the year, that the chain itself was in financial trouble and had started to look at declaring bankruptcy. So these are mostly franchise operations, so I can't tell you where they're at. We've not heard any more from that. Yeah. Going back to Dave Carpenter's comment, most of those urgent cares are not free. They require insurance. So even if you have the ability to go there, it's your insurance is going to have to cover it. I think the only one that I'm aware of that is free for those who without insurance is the one at the MAC.
So one other thing, I was nice for you to kind of touch on the numbers. I think that's incredibly. I had myself muted because I've got my little chihuahua here, but I really wanted to clap and applaud us for the Jeffco side and being able to sustain that 2 weeks of a decline in those case counts. So that's very positive news that you've shared with us. As it relates to, and you closed out by sharing that these were numbers from last week, right? And this is often a question that we see is how frequently is the data updated? What do we know and what do we not know? How often can we see these changes on county levels, especially when we're talking tri-county and it's about 3 times where we need to be to even submit for the next phase?
The numbers kind of change depending on when they do their reports. Typically, they're at least weekly, and I usually get them on, go in and get them on late Thursday or early Friday. So mine are a couple of days old. How often they update it, I haven't been tracking, but I think they're at least once a week because a lot of it comes back from waiting for other information to come in to them from the state. But I don't believe that it's done on a daily basis.
Excellent. Thank you. I don't see any additional questions. So, I like to pick your brain. This evening, what's on your radar? It's the 5th Monday. So it's a little bit of an anomaly.
Yeah, we are normally on the 5th Monday, we would be off, but tonight we're meeting for the purpose of going over some protocols and procedures. We won't be doing any kind of business transactions for the city. So this is just a study session among the mayors and a group that we'll be talking to about council procedures and protocols.
Excellent. Okay. Thank you for that update. I know it's whenever there's that additional week, I'm never too sure what's on the radar. So there's always plenty. So Johnny's asking, what's the tipping point before Westminster starts pushing back on state mandates? Or are we just going to continue to comply with what's being pushed out there for our businesses to follow?
John, it's not an issue of Westminster pushing back. These are state orders that are legally binding to the city. Those orders come down to the county and then from the county to us. So whether we get them from Jefferson or Tri-County or the state, this is not an option for the city. This is law.
And on that note, I know Jeffco, just within the last week, we'll start announcing this, but you'll find this information relevant, Mayor. I know you go out to some of our businesses and some were desperately still needing some PPE and things like that, even after our city had distributed those items out, and it was by the thousands. So we are partnering with Jeffco and we'll start kind of distribution pop-ups that are around our city. So if businesses are interested, I will be sharing that link also here in the next several days so we can get that word out as well. So what else is on our radar that we want to know about?
Well, I would tell you that to your point about these pop-up for PPE, we're getting ready to start into the flu season. And already we're starting to see advertisements and pushes by the health department and others, our King Supers and Walmart and others that have clinics to start to look at getting your flu shots early. With that uptick potential coming, very close to, I'd say within the next month or two, the way they're talking, is that if you've got businesses, I would still be very cautious about not letting your supplies of PPE get too low. We'll see an uptick from the hospitals and care facilities, nursing homes, and other things like that are going to start stockpiling more and more of it. And most of them are trying to keep at a minimum a 2 to 3 week supply. But still the same issue is the demand for the product and how soon you can get it from a reliable source. Making sure that you don't get stuck with something that doesn't meet safety requirements or doesn't pass tests from the testing organization. So again, be careful where you buy, make sure you keep a good supply. And I expect this is going to continue. Right now, there's no indication that the governor or CDPHE or anybody else is going to start talking about lowering the requirement for masks, especially going into the flu season.
And Mayor, I don't know if you've been able to see some of what was posted recently, and I've seen a lot of this kind of get reshared on the internet, but it's related to CDC, and over the last couple of days, there have been some more statistics that have been pushed out into the community as far as number of people that have passed away from COVID or had that as a secondary. And is there any, I don't know if you saw that link or any of the information that's out there on it. If you have seen it, do you have any comments that we want to share out to people?
I have not seen it.
So, outside of that, I liked that you also touched on other new projects, especially in our downtown. That's always exciting to hear. I know at one point, this was about a couple of months ago, there was the sale of some sites that would have been there for commercial property, if I'm not mistaken.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we have 2 blocks that we completed the purchase and sale agreement on, and that's for the Schnitzer property. That'll be two of the blocks that we sold that are over on the east side. They back up to Sheridan, and that is for 8 to 10 story office building. There'll be 2 of them with a structured parking garage connecting the 2 for their tenants. Don't know how soon they'll start. The sales agreement is there. There is a timeline contained in the sales agreement that has milestones they have to meet. I would anticipate between the design review process, getting all the construction drawings and stuff done, I would not look to see any kind of groundbreaking on that till the latter part of next year.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Everything else that's under contract right now, with the exception of the owner-occupied housing, that I expect to see in the first quarter of 21 to start construction. They're in the construction drawing and documents phase right now, because those have all been approved as far as the purchase and sale of those blocks, which they're, if I recall, they're on at least 3 different blocks, primarily on the west half, over near the hotel, the theater. I have not heard a date for the Alamo to restart, although I think had expected them to go in the month of August, and that didn't happen. Yeah, but I do know that the AMC theaters at both the Orchard and the Promenade did reopen last week as planned. I was by that general area, the one at the Promenade, and there were quite a few cars there, so I'm assuming that a lot of people are getting comfortable going back with the social distancing, the mask wearing, even in the theater. But I don't have any kind of information update about how well their opening went. It's mostly retro movies. I know the opening night on the 20th was 15 cents a ticket with $5 popcorn. If I remember the press release right, it was after the opening night, the tickets would be $5 a person, but I don't know if the popcorn price went up.
Okay. And that's great to know on all of those entertainment outlets that are there. I know you mentioned the Alamo. We've got a nice working relationship with them, and we'll likely be featuring them here in the next coming weeks on our Business Success Series to hear more about them. I know with their other locations, especially down in Texas, they were kind of piloting what that looks like and maintaining health and wellness standards and how to mimic that into their other venue spaces that they might have. I see Laura. I also see John Archer. I see Jason Ganal, and you were too funny. I'm going to try and flip this around at some point, or maybe post some photos to reiterate that I'm not truly in a bar. And then I also see Senator Winter who has been pushing out some of the information about also Energize Colorado, that gap fund that the mayor has referenced. That is a program for our small businesses, 25 employees or fewer, and of course nonprofits. Our mayor has shared a little bit about that, and then I've also included the link directly for you to be able to copy and paste it on that website. It's pretty user friendly. You'll be able to see if you actually qualify and meet the criteria by submitting a preliminary application, a really short one, and then you actually fill out the content after that as well. So we're close to our 30 minutes. So before I start wrapping this up, I think I can't believe that we don't have anything that's too drastic today. It's kind of nice to to have a little bit of a calm.
Some days you like to get a break.
Yes, knock on wood, really. It really is nice to get a break. With all these businesses that are reopening, I will emphasize that we have started picking up on our grand opening events that we generally have. These are two ways. There are two ways that we host them. One is in the drive-by format, where you drive by and honk your horn, and it's a nice socially distanced event. And then the other is more of the traditional, because of our social distancing and parameters that we have in place. We're having people RSVP for any of those grand opening type celebrations, so we can truly know how many people we're dealing with and space that out as best we can. With that, Horizons North Credit Union, they have relocated from their location in Northglen into Westminster at a new facility off Huron. We'll be cutting their ribbon here on the 17th. And then the A-Loft that's up at the Orchards has also officially opened. And so we'll have their grand opening as well their open date is actually a week from today. And then their grand opening we'll be doing on the 22nd of September. So stay tuned for those if you're comfortable enough coming out. If you're not comfortable coming out, then maybe you can just drop by at another point outside of the event time so you can show your support. But it's nice to see that there's investment in the community. That's one of the things that I've been telling a lot of folks is even during this time, I can tell you I have just as many, if not more, new members this year around this time than I did last year. So it's interesting to see some industries that are doing well, and then of course the others that we're trying to make sure survive and then thrive after the season has passed. With that, if you end up watching this video, give us that hashtag replay so we know that you tuned in with us. And if you picked up information that you had questions on that you did not feel comfortable typing into the chat section, you can always DM it to us, or you can email us directly at info@westminsterchamber.biz. The mayor does answer any of those questions that do come in, and generally I will post that out to public so people are aware as well of what that response is if you're also curious or thinking along the same lines. For those of you that came back with us, thank you for spending the morning. And my newcomers, I hope you come back and found that this was valuable and are starting to share this out, liking and following the page as well. And of course, to my mayor, thank you for making sure that you're available every Monday and bringing in some good news. And then sometimes it's not so good news, but being able to share with us all that information as well. So I appreciate you spending the morning with us, and I hope you have a terrific rest of your week. And we'll be back here tomorrow at 11 a.m. with our Business Success Series. I hope everybody's available to tune in and see what our businesses are doing